Well, I am at the Alienware training facility with coverage brought to you by Alienware to talk to Steve about Team Liquid. Steve, I wanted to talk to you a little bit before the start of the season, but unfortunately you were feeling under the weather, so I'm glad we could talk now.
Yes, thanks for accommodating and rescheduling. So it's good to chat.
Yeah, good to talk. So for those that are watching this interview, this is coming out after week 3 has happened in the LCS, but we are filming it the Friday before week 3, so just give you some context on that. So first off, I never really got a chance to talk to you about the formation of the team. I remember you came on the show and I think teased Jensen way back in December, but then you ended up with Core JJ. So what was off-season like as you were kind of building out this team?
So the off-season was a little unique in comparison to any other preseason. I mean, this is the first time where we had won back-to-back championships, and in I think most teams' strategy, they would have continued working with the same roster. And actually, there was a good amount of intent where we would have continued forward with Pobelter, and that was kind of the likely possibility. But Pobelter's contract ended on November 20th, and so he was entering free agency period, whereas Ole was still contracted on a multi-year contract. So, we had told the entire team we're going to try to put together the best team possible. You know that about Team Liquid. It's something that I've promised to you, that I will do everything that I can to make the most competitive team. I owe that to you. That's why you came onto the organization and trusted a team that was coming from promotion relegation into LCS. And I owe that to you. And so we were very transparent about it, and we started looking into options. The first was support. So we had this Excel spreadsheet with a number of different supports, and Doublelift had his list, and each player had kind of theirs, and the coaching staff and my preference. And then we had a list of attributes that we scored them on. And so we looked at it from like a quantitative perspective, and then also from like fit, and cohesion with the team. And so it got narrowed down to a short list. And then we knew that Core JJ was kind of really good, right, playing on Gen G. So I reached out to Gen G and I said, hey, can we have permission to speak with him before he goes into free agency? And they said, okay, well, let's chat, let's try to figure this out. And to their credit, they were amazing to work with, by the way. Such a professional organization. And so we started to have some conversations, and Kane was there, and he was allowed to go and meet with Core JJ and have lunch. And so that kind of worked itself out. And for us, I wanted to make sure it was a 3-year contract. That was very important. So once that got locked in, it was like, okay, that's the first step. And then once I got a call from Jack, and he's like, hey, so the first person to call, and there's an opportunity for Jensen to go and play for another organization. He's having some thoughts and feelings, wants to explore his options, and da-da-da-da-da. And basically, won't get into all the details, but the result of it was like, we needed to make a decision really fast. And at the same time, we had been having conversations with Pobelter, but nothing was finalized yet. And so we ended up finalizing all the stuff with Jensen, and then I kind of stepped back and said, what kind of team is this? And I think Doublelift was a little nervous at first, but yeah, I really believed in it. And when I want to do my best, I follow through with that, and hopefully we'll see what happens with it. So far, so good. I mean, a 4-0 start, but expectations are really high.
Something I've noticed has been, I believe this was the case last year too, but you are usually done with off-season before most teams start making any announcements whatsoever. Mm-hmm. You've wrapped it up. Is this strategic on your part? Or you're like, I'd like to enjoy the break and let's do this, or why does this keep happening?
I think there's 2 ways of going about it, right? Like if every team will have a certain budget that they have to work with in each respective off-season, and if you're a team that maybe doesn't have as high of a budget, what will end up happening is as players sign contracts during the offseason, the players that haven't yet signed, they are more willing to sign at different terms that they may not have accepted, like prior to the trade window if you have permission, or right after. So there's this big flux in terms of that. If you are coming in with a certain budget and you want to start early and go for the best talent, that's one strategy. Other teams take a different strategy and kind of wait till the end and then put the pieces together. So for us, I feel really confident in our ability to monetize against the team. I don't know if every team has that kind of confidence, but I just see it as an investment. Like, I'm investing and build the brand, win, sell sponsorships, and it all kind of nets the same kind of. It depends on how willing you are to bet, so to speak, and what kind of risk you want to take. So that's how we think about it. Yeah.
Speaking of the brand, it feels like 2018 was an insane year for Team Liquid and League of Legends in particular, but also more broadly, you guys have the training facility now, you have a couple of first place finishes. I'm kind of interested because, no disrespect to TL, but for a long time, it felt like the brand was kind of mired in memes of like fourth place, and like TS and Cloud9 really led the charge in terms of position within the LCS. It kind of feels like 2018 that's kind of shifted a little bit. I don't know if you've seen that or if you guys do research into this, but I'm kind of curious where you think TL stands as a brand now at the start of 2019, compared to where you were about a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were pretty deserving of some of the memes, right? Like, I'm not gonna hide behind some of that stuff. I mean, the fact that we brought in Doublelift as basically a mercenary during promotion relegation, and had midlit, and yeah, there's some grit and determination in that, but yeah, there's also some memes that are a byproduct of it. And when you place fourth for so many years in a row, well, damn, I mean, yes, it is what it is. I think one of the silver linings is that even though our performance was not that great, and that's usually what builds brand equity for an organization, we were still talked about. Like, it was interesting. We did a report with our PR team in that year where we ended up finishing and going into promotion relegation. We had the most Reddit threads, and it's like, yeah, it's not great, but at least we're being talked about. Like, who was the 9th place team or other 10th place team? Like, who knows? They weren't. They weren't discussed. So, so there's some of that in terms of our brand equity today. From a pure numbers perspective, we look at our community sites, Discord, Instagram growth, social media growth. Like, our growth rate in comparison to Cloud9 is insane on Instagram. Our Discord numbers are, I think, 15 times larger than the second team that's in LCS. So, yeah, our fans they're growing. We're winning, and that's usually a good byproduct. But we also have some good personalities, and so that helps too.
Yeah. I mean, it does feel like. Is it fair to say night and day between, beginning of 2019 versus beginning of 2018 in terms of all because it feels like for a long time all the League of Legends narratives were, and like the fan base was so concentrated in that TSM Cloud9 area. Sometimes like a CLG or an Immortals is up there as well, but now it really does feel like there's a ton of fans that are sort of moving towards you guys for winning or for personalities or whatever. It just kind of feel like that's what's happening.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I see it. We did this viewing party in Washington, D.C., where you had to be there at 4:30 in the morning to go and watch our team play at Worlds, and we sold out, and everybody showed up at capacity. Like, that's kind of cool, and it was and we didn't do any promotion for it. We just posted in a few Facebook groups. So, yeah, we see it, and we appreciate it, and I love that that's happening. I feel like an obligation to give back, and so one of our big priorities for 2019 is going to be, I don't want to give away too much, but like being more innovative in terms of fan loyalty and fan affinity, and not being complacent on the type of relationship that esports teams have with fans. I think right now it's a little disassociative, like it's too far removed. Like the fact that I don't know who has come to LCS for the past 3 years and supported our team, and I don't know their name, is a problem. And I want to give back. I want to recognize, and easier said than done. And so we will figure that out.
Right. Now, such a big jump for the org in 2018. How do you follow that up in 2019? Like, what are the goals for this year, and how do you sort of expand on the success that you had last year?
You know, I think one of the challenges for us as an organization is how to manage so many different fan bases and so many different disciplines or different games globally.
Right, because for the League fans that don't know this, you guys are in all these different titles all over the place, right?
Yeah.
CSGO and PUBG and all these different places.
Right, so we're in 15 different games, right? We got a league starting in PUBG in Europe. We've got a gaming house in Berlin. We've got the EU Alienware training facility that's being built in Europe and the Netherlands, and it's a constant kind of like figuring out what games to get into and making sure that we have the right kind of presence and giving back to the communities in each of those respective games in unique ways that make sense, that isn't fake or, you know, inauthentic. And so that is going to be a real challenge for us, is figuring that out. And I think also figuring out how to communicate with different regions. And so we just have our Line account, we have verification on Weibo, we have established content and translation services for all of our posting. It's easier said than done, and so like rolling all of that out and being able to speak in one voice to like the world is super important to us.
How about on the League side, specifically with a team? You made it to Worlds last year. Now, unfortunately, did not do well at groups. What are you looking for as a successful sign for this org this year? For this team?
Yeah. For this team, I think 1 foot in front of the other, and expectations are extremely high right now. This interview and the players and their interviews, I think Jake just did an interview saying that we might go undefeated. Like, man, we are really giving it to ourselves in terms of expectations. And that creates pressure. I mean, and you don't really know what kind of effect that has until you're on stage and you're in that moment. And how do you control that? How do you prep for that? So, you know, I think for us, the first goal that I have, just like as a person, like as a, you know, my relationship with the guys, is to get Jensen a trophy. Like, I said that to him when I had the first call before he decided to come on. And yeah, I want to make good on that. So that will be a good first step. And then if we can get a fourth one, like, hell yeah. And, you know, the meta is just, man, it can be brutal, right? And so it's tough to try to prepare for where you are right before you go to Worlds. All you can do is work on the things that will be constant, like communication, team synergy. But when it comes to who's playing what, and, you know, like, didn't we have, you know, we had Fnatic with their, oh my gosh, I forget
Big
that.
Whippo and Reckless. And
Yeah,
all that
exactly.
SOAS.
Yeah, like, you don't know. So we have to stay flexible. That's one constant, I guess. So we'll figure it out once we get closer.
Yeah. Well, hopefully WF isn't benching himself at all for another player halfway through the split.
That would feel bad, man.
The Fnatic situation. So how about as an org within the league? Because I think one conversation that isn't being talked about too much and starting to kind of come up is like, you know, it's been 1 year of franchise. It was a big year for you guys, but also a big year for the LCS as they had their first full year of franchising. No more promotion relegation, so no more heart attacks for you and Jack and all the other guys running the teams. What do you think of the LCS after its first full year of franchising?
I think that we've seen some real success stories. I think 100 Thieves stands out as the most prominent, right? You have Nadeshot, his existing fan base, full allegiance and like determination to transition that into the 100 Thieves brand and fully support it, and great management and performance. So you had a team that didn't exist before that has fans and is at playoffs, right? So that's awesome. On the other side of the coin, you have some other teams that are maybe not monetizing as well or not putting together a great roster. And you have to kind of dig in and figure out whether, are they trying, are they checking the box, or, they just failing for good reasons, and that's okay. And there's always going to be a team in 10th place, right? Like, what are you going to do? So I think there's some good things. I think there's also some items that we really need to work on. The launch of the LEC. I mean, the branding is beautiful. Like the trailers and the teasers before the launch of the season, just funny and cute and I don't know, just contemporary and cool. So that was awesome. And then the casting and the quality of the games and then the sponsorships that are, and a lot of folks who maybe watch this are like, sponsorships, whatever, those are just ads. But it's about supporting the ecosystem so that it sustains itself. So it's you want to participate, right? Because there is value in the reach associated with advertising, and it's kind of this circle of life, right? And so yeah, I've been jealous a bit of how successful they have been so far, but I feel like we have a much better league. Yeah,
we have a better product.
We have a better product, right? Like at this point, it's just a little bit in execution, right? And so, just because this page of the book, we're halfway through the book, we can write the rest of the pages. So I feel more and more confident as we're working on some of this stuff, but there's just some low-hanging fruit. Like, why can't we cheer for? Why can't fans cheer for Team Liquid while they're watching the game in the Twitch chat? Right? Yeah. And some of the things that we've seen in Overwatch that have done really well. Why can't we just copy that? Why? Do we have to be innovative if it's working? Yeah. So I'd like to just see a little bit more progression in terms of those things. And I know it's happening. It's just that I'm impatient. I'm just, I want it now. To be done by already.
And do you feel, because in the other interviews I had with the owners and also with Chopper, we discussed there's this ownership meeting at the end of last year and a check-in, and I know that for some of the teams there were, at least I had heard, frustrations coming into that meeting in areas where they wanted to see the league and Riot do more. Are these kind of the areas that you're referencing, or do you share this feeling at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you put 10 owners together with Riot, and again, we're at a circular table, right? We all want this product to be really awesome. When I say product, I mean the league and the health and the ecosystem, the viewership and all the engagement and all that. There should be debate. There should be discussion. If it's just all agreeable and everybody's that's not healthy. So yeah, I think there's a lot of suggestions. I think there's a lot of attention to it, and and there's some conviction, right? These are our lives. This is so much of what we do is the league, and we want it to work. And the good thing is that the viewership's there. It's doing really well. The World Finals had its best year in terms of viewership after 8 years. To me, knowing that almost every game has a product life cycle, it will come out and then 90% of them have and then they just die, right? After the first couple months. And then some of them stick, and then Riot's been able to figure out how to make it an esport and increase viewership over time on an existing game. I'm wow, that to me is amazing, because it's a game, right? And so I believe in that. It's just figuring out how to run the business behind it.
So 1 year from now, maybe I'm sitting back down with you again, talk about 2019, because by then it'll be 2020. What would you like to have seen, or what would you like to have us discussing that Riot accomplished this year, or that the league accomplished this year, to sort of progress itself forward?
I would say I'd like to see one awesome fan give back activation, right? Like something that was just, people saw it and they were like, wow, that's pretty cool. And then they did it and they were like, whoa, I can't wait until next season they do that again.
Is this on the Riot side?
On the Riot, well,
Yeah.
just the league. The league in general. Like, what can the league do for fans that watch it? That's new, that's interesting, that provides value. Like, you know, selfishly, like we just did our partnership with Jersey Mike's for that we announced 3 weeks ago or so.
Start of LCS. Yeah.
Right, and anytime we go 2-0 on the weekend, you can go get a free sub at 1,500 different locations across the country. That's pretty cool, right? Like, what's the cool thing that the league can give back to the community? So that needs to happen. And then I think we should be able to find a partner that we can work with that can help contribute both monetarily, but also do cool stuff within the game. And I want to see that happen for.
So kind of like a brand, outside brand plus in the game, or in like something that actually transcends just the broadcast and actually goes into the game.
Yeah, something like that, exactly. And I know that Alienware did a partnership with League of Legends. I want to see something, which is awesome and great. I mean, we love Alienware, obviously. I want to see something. The LCS, you know, like the LEC has their stuff. Like I want our stuff too,
right.
You know.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, because it is, and maybe for those that don't follow the rest of the global thing, we have seen most of the sponsorships that have come to NA are also global sponsorships. So like the Alienware one hits both LCS and LEC, and then globally, you're saying you want to see like some more LCS specific sponsorships.
Right, like this, you know. When Team Liquid, when we purchased our spot in the league and were accepted by Riot to participate in the league, that was for what is now called the LCS.
Right.
It wasn't for a spot in, you know, some position like Overwatch where you're, you know, a city in the world and global. Like you're just in the LCS. I care about the health of the LCS.
Yes.
You know, of course, the other game and the game being good, but you know, I have more concerted effort for the LCS.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. What are you, I guess you've talked a lot about like the fan side, where it sounds like both on the Team Liquid side, you want to do a better job of connecting with fans. You also want to see the league as itself do a better job of connecting with the fans. I'm just kind of curious, because I noticed this was a thread throughout the interview, like what is really sparking this? Was there like a moment that you had or some situation? Because this is the first time I've sort of heard this from you or any of the specific team owners, is like really starting to give back.
Yeah, I think I'll be candid. You know, in running a business, you have priorities. When you need to earn revenue to pay bills, and like, you know, but now I think we've shifted and kind of evolved into, well, yeah, you know, keeping the lights on and stuff, but what can we do to really give back to this ecosystem and ensure that it grows? And that is creating fans and generational fans, right? Like in other professional sports, you have a DNA strand that's given to you to root for the 49ers if you are in San Francisco, right? Like that's just, and then if your parents are fans, and you probably are, you're like, yeah, of course there's some exceptions. Like what is that for esports? Like why hasn't there been a model for someone becoming a Team Liquid fan and then their friends becoming Team Liquid fans, or where they're from, and why can't we speak to a city or a region, and what does it mean for League of Legends versus Dota? And I think once that's mastered, we can ensure the sustainability for esports for quite some time, because they and their friends will all become fans of each respective team that they want to.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's maybe a good way to end the interview. Is there anything that you want to say to any of the Team Liquid fans as they're looking forward to this coming year?
Yes, so thank you so much for supporting the team, especially the folks that are OG back in the Curse days that have been supporting us. We did the AMA the other day, and there was a ton of like, I've been a fan all the way since you were playing Soraka. It was awesome, so thank you. And you know, we really hope to, from a performance standpoint, really do a great job and make everybody happy. And then we'll be doing some cool content stuff, so make sure to follow all of our socials. So thank you.
Thank you so much for the interview, Steve. Looking forward to seeing what the year has in store for not just Team Liquid, but the league as a whole.
Yeah.
For everyone else, you can check out the rest of my coverage of all things esports right here on my YouTube channel. Thanks so much for watching my interview with Steve here at the Alienware training facility. By the way, did somebody say Alienware? I said Alienware just now because they're sponsoring this video and all of my coverage in 2019. Really helpful to have them here. And it's kind of awesome that I am at the Alienware training facility, and then tomorrow I'm going to go cover LCS, which is also sponsored by Alienware. And I'm sponsored by Alienware. It's so neat to see an organization, a company, somebody just walked in, a company try to just do so much to support a scene and I think succeed. Either way, you can check out their support of me, or you can support their support of me by clicking the link in the description below, dell.com/Travis, checking out some of their product. It's very helpful. And thanks so much to Alienware for supporting my stuff this year.